Embracing a certain amount of delusional optimism is the hallmark of every entrepreneur. But what separates the dreamers from the doers? What differentiates those who would like to get something done and those who accomplish their goals?
The pivots were me being like, I got to make money. At that point, I had 3 children. And staying the course was really me dedicating myself to not going back to work for anyone. I would just say like an ultimate belief that I can do something that will make it work. As an entrepreneur, you are always operating with this level of delusion.
That's Shelly Bell, the founder and CEO of Black Girl Ventures. Over the course of her non-traditional career, Shelly has listened to one playlist on repeat: test, iterate, pivot. And while each pivot seemed like an impulsive decision to her peers, at the heart of every choice was a system. And as Shelly shares today, it's that system which draws the line between those who say and those who do. There are always exciting things happening in the world of small business. The news that grabs the headlines, though, are always the highlights: the overnight successes, the billion-dollar IPOs, the massive exits. But just like your Instagram feed, that's never the whole story. Let's look deeper than the headlines and the press photos. Underneath all of that is the real work building something valuable and lasting. Don't get me wrong, I love crazy success stories and can be drawn into those big flashy tales just as much as the next person. But we all know that what's more important than the destination is how you get there. It's the struggles you have to overcome and the insights you learn along the way that make you who you are. So those are the stories we're telling. It's raw, it's honest, and maybe it's exactly what you need to hear. I'm Hillary Georgie, and this is The Journey. Growing up, Shelly had a huge imagination. She loved poetry and the arts, and those were the passions that taught her to tackle every project using a uniquely creative lens.
At first, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And then everybody was like, well, you talk a lot. You should be a lawyer. And so I was like, okay, I want to be a lawyer. And then my parents bought this gateway computer. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. And I really just fell in love with computers. That gateway computer made me see things a little bit more systematic.
Computers demonstrated in a very particular way the step-by-step systems necessary to turn big visions into reality. It was a basic lesson with a big impact on her mindset. Over the years, her love for computers grew, and after high school, she went on to study computer science. It wasn't long after that she took her first leap into entrepreneurship.
After college, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to teach in the meantime. And then I'll eventually go into the corporate world, and got into teaching, never actually went to the corporate world per se. So was teaching, learned a lot about people. I launched my first company with a fellow teacher. It was a web development company. There was no Adobe Creative Suite the way there is now. This is like when there was Front Page and Dreamweaver and there was Flash, and you were like trying to piece all these things together. And I quickly learned about customers at that point, because customers would want things that were bigger than they could afford or bigger than things that could actually happen at that time. So it would be like, hey, can you take this picture of me, make me run across the screen and jump off? And I'm like, actually, no, because no one can. And then after dealing with a couple customer hiccups, we were both like, yeah, you know what? Let's actually not do this.
It was a bumpy first foray into business, but Shelly's entrepreneurial whims didn't start and end there.
So I've always been entrepreneurial. Side hustles, or I was a nanny. I sold vacuum cleaners. Actually, selling vacuum cleaners is one of the most important experiences of my life. Think about it. You have to walk up to someone's door, get them to let you in their house, to show them something they 9 times out of 10 already own. That level of firsthand customer conversation really prepared me for now.
Those early lessons from her side hustles created a foundation of resilience, self-confidence, and business acumen that she would tap into in the years to follow.
Right now, I'm always talking about building curriculum that is a business level 2, because I feel like a lot of the experiences you go into will be 101s. And the level 2 is not who is my customer. It is what about my customer? One of the things I learned from standing at those doors and trying to get people to let me in their houses was how to be present and pay attention to the response and where the response was coming from, and then address that versus only addressing my product sale. The first step is to try to present the opportunity for me to show you something. Hey, I got something cool. I know you don't really want it. You don't even know that you want it or not. Let me just come in and show you something. So I think the first step was really appealing to the human psyche around, if I can show you something new and I can give you an aha moment, you can probably move through this buying experience. Another thing I realized is like, you can't sell something you don't believe in, and that includes yourself.
And it's that lesson that hit home in 2014. Shelly moved from North Carolina to the Washington, D.C. area and got a job for the Patent Trademark Office, a position in a different galaxy than her dream career.
I was engaged to a man who did not want me to start a business because he did not think that it was stable enough. He's like, no, you should just work a 9-to-5. And so I did. I worked at a patent search firm, best boss I've ever had, but he pulled me in one day. He's like, this is not for you. And to be honest, I was faking it every day. I really didn't like being there or working for anyone. And he laid me off. And he gave me a really great package. Like I said, it was a great dude, great company. But I was devastated. And so within 2 months, my entire life flipped upside down. I got disengaged. We broke up. I threw everything out of my living room and I said, okay, I'm going to start a business. I had no idea what I was going to do.
With no job, no spouse, and 3 children to take care of, Shelly found herself scrambling for ways to stay afloat. But in chaos lies opportunity. Her life was already changing drastically, so why not add one extra layer? Shelly decided to take this as an opportunity to experiment with pursuing a few unconventional business ideas.
And I found this teepee. And so I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to build this teepee and put it in my living room and rent it out. And everybody was like, what? I'm going to build a teepee, put it in my living room and rent it out. And so I'm at Home Depot. I don't even know how to drill a hole at the time, honestly. And the dudes at Home Depot who were trying to help me find materials are like, what? So here I am with like one arm full of long wooden sticks and a drill in the other hand. They're like, what are you doing? I'm going to build a teepee, put it in my living room, and I'm going to rent it out.
Shelly traveled often to watch, perform at, and host poetry slams. And each time she had trouble finding an affordable place where she felt comfortable staying. She thought that the teepee would not only be a great way to earn some extra cash, but also could function as a safe place for women to stay when traveling. Her friends and family thought it was a wild idea and an impulsive plan, but Shelly had a vision in her heart and mind that she was going to see through.
Come to find out, Airbnb has a teepee option. I let one woman come and stay, and after that, I quickly found out that I didn't want people to stay in my living room in a teepee. So I was like, you know what? This is not what I want to do with my life. Let's figure this out. So I started trying to experiment with other things. Like, could I sell it at festivals for people going out and sitting in the yards? I started trying to figure out, could I make it mechanical? And I'm like, okay, but this is not working the way I need it to work right now. What other skills do I have?
Ultimately, the teepee plan didn't work out as she had envisioned, but it was her first pivotal experience of taking an original idea and testing it in the market on her own. After the break, Shelly shares how that motivated her to find a sustainable business plan that she could build on long term. And she explains how her experience building her own business became her inspiration for founding Black Girl Ventures.
It takes a lot to grow a business, but one thing's for certain. You've got to have a laser focus on the customer. That's why we use Salesforce Essentials at Mission every day. With Essentials, your small business has access to the same CRM tools driving results for some of the most successful companies on earth. Think Adidas, Amazon, T-Mobile, Toyota, Intuit, Marriott, and tens of thousands more. Track your business health by measuring sales, emails, customer satisfaction, and custom metrics. Go to getessentials.com/thejourney to start your free 90-day trial today.
Crestfallen, but more motivated than ever, Shelly was ready to explore any opportunity and dig up any old skills she had to find her next project. She needed money, and she needed a business that she could invest her passion and creativity into. And that's when she remembered that in high school, she had learned how to design and make t-shirts. With nothing but time to lose, Shelly leaned into the idea of creating her own line of t-shirts and quickly churned out the first few versions.
Launched this first t-shirt line. It was an LGBT line. Nobody liked it. It sucked. It bombed. And so I was on the phone with the printer I was working with, and I said, you know what? It's made by a Black woman. I'm going to put that on a shirt. And so I went to the computer, designed the Made by a Black Woman logo to pattern at the Made in America logo, put it on a shirt, and everybody loved it. My mom invested some money from her retirement, and I took my tax money and bought my own machines. So now I'm printing t-shirts, my t-shirt line, and I started looking at other ways to diversify that income, and I started printing t-shirts for other people. I spent the year traveling up and down the East Coast, vending at all kinds of festivals, selling Made by a Black Woman t-shirts. And then we started selling online. And one of my advisors, he said, don't change your design. Where people mess up is they change their designs too early. So I didn't change my design. I changed what I put it on. And so I started putting it on infant bodysuits. And oh my gosh, it took off.
Shelly had found her niche. She began working alongside a local print shop to meet orders. The owners would help her by printing her designs, and in exchange, she did design and printing work for their orders. It was through local partnerships like those that her business was able to grow beyond the scope of her living room. She also tapped into a large network closer to home.
I have a big family, and what I would do is I didn't give them t-shirts for free, but I would discount them. And I would say to them, hey, like, make sure you take a picture on your Instagram and tag us. And so then my Instagram following started growing. And then what I would do is every customer receipt email would say, we would love to see you in your gear. Send us a picture or tag us. And it's a prideful kind of shirt. Like they want to show it off. So they would send the pictures. And then I would repost and even create stories around it.
Shelly used strategic partnerships in person and online to get the word out about the product and help grow the business. But how did she go from knowing nothing except how to make a t-shirt to becoming a leading marketer, producer, and innovator in the retail space?
I tell people you should consume information 3 ways: about your industry, alongside your industry, and within the industry. And I say the same thing for customers. You should consume data and information about your customer, alongside your customer, and as a customer. So staying abreast of what's happening and using automation for that. I would use like Google Alerts to stay around like anything related to my industry, build relationships. They say you build a relationship, then you build a business. And I'm a firm believer in that. That relationships are everything. Your first step is to build relationships. All capital, all money comes from relationships.
Shelly made sure that everywhere she went, she was making connections with those around her, whether as potential business partners or as potential customers. In fact, Shelly had designed a system for vending at festivals and markets that optimized specifically for building those relationships.
When you came to our table, we had a rhythm, actively engaging you the entire time. Like you were not standing there waiting on us. So I'm telling the story about conventions. My mom's like, okay, great. Here's let me take your money. And my cousin's like, what size you need? What color you want? And then my other cousin's like, hey, how you doing? She's way down in the line, just holding people's attention and getting them to sign up for an email list. And that would be like a discount. And so we would just be rolling like that.
Shelly's business was taking off. But as she got more involved in the industry and in entrepreneurship, something became increasingly clear. Women, specifically Black women, were not getting the same access to capital as their male and white counterparts.
Black women are starting businesses at 6 times the national average, yet receiving less than 1% of venture capital. Bank discrimination. And I was like, wait, what? Okay, well, let's just pull some people together, throw some money in a hat and give it away. And that's how Black Girl Ventures was born.
Shelly knew that because she was in a position to do something, she had to do something to help change this narrative. Taking all the knowledge she had about running events, Shelly decided to start hosting pitch contests where women could come together to support each other personally, professionally, and financially.
I wanted women to show up for people to show up, community to show up, to do something about this. The original model was you pay at the door and then we would split the money with the winner. And then originally, as time went on, we moved into a model of everybody can come in for free and then you pay to vote. So you vote with your dollars and then your money goes to the founders that are pitching.
For Shelly, these competitions aren't just about helping the women who show up to pitch. They are also about changing our cultural perspectives as a whole. The impact of these types of events and these types of conversations reach far beyond the people who show up. They create shifts in the mindsets and the culture that pave the way for the future.
Entrepreneurship is one of the pillars of America, right? It is one of our ways of being. And the idea that there have been groups of people, women and people of color, who have been legally, historically disadvantaged to be able to have that opportunity should not be what we stand for as Americans. It is a civil rights issue, right? Whether we want to face it that way or not, it is us not thinking about the result of what was unavailable for women legally for so long and unavailable for Black people legally for so long. We're literally talking a short time ago that these things were present. And even, what has it been? Maybe 3 to 5 years since even more bank discrimination has come out. And so I think that it's so important that everybody is afforded an equal opportunity to provide for their families, to build generational wealth, to create something sustainable. I think we could solve a lot of the even more hyper-local challenges that we face in communities, whether it is crime, whether it is needing better education. When people feel the efficacy from operating businesses or feeling like they're buying from businesses that they care about, I think we'll just see a better society as a whole.
So what is Shelly's secret to success? How did she go from the woman on a mission to rent out a teepee in her living room to a successful businesswoman who is helping change society? How did she take her big visions and turn them step by step into reality?
Literally, the scientific method that we learned in elementary school is absolutely the way to grow a business. Now, the way that people talk to you about, like business plan canvases and all those things, yes to that, but it's all about how do you view your hypothesis and how do you test your hypothesis? And then how do you define what you're going to do about it next?
Test, iterate, pivot, repeat. On a small scale, this cycle is how businesses operate every day. On a large scale, it's how businesses are born to begin with. But it all starts with an idea, a hypothesis to test and iterate on. It starts with that delusional optimism and that big imagination.
If it can't fit, make it fit. Living on your own terms and being able to activate imagination over the course of my entire life and really being dedicated to that and to see that imagination turn into such a positive movement for other people, I couldn't feel more free and excited about the work that I do.
Carl Sagan once said, quote, "Imagination will often carry us to worlds that never were, but without it, we go nowhere." For Shelly, the big visions she pursued didn't always make sense, but the steps and systems she put into place to test and iterate on those visions always did, and they led her to where she is today. She's helping other people pursue their own wild ideas and make their dreams come true, one test, iteration, or pivot at a time.
Succeeding as a startup, solo founder, or any small business is an uphill battle. It takes the right mindset and the right tools. That's why we're thrilled to partner with Salesforce Essentials to bring you the journey. Managing one podcast, let alone a whole media studio, is a challenge to say the least. But Essentials makes it easy to maintain relationships and grow our business. With Essentials, your startup has access to the same CRM driving insights and results for the most successful companies in the world. Use unrivaled Salesforce technology to track customers, sales, emails, and more. You'll know where your business is and where it's headed as you chart the path for your journey. We love using Essentials, and we know you will too. Go to getessentials.com/thejourney to start your free 90-day trial today.